already on commenting. Thanks for joining us today. Good morning. I hope you're having a great week. We're full on summer here in Iowa. It's pretty hot already. So good morning. We've got Carol, and I love someone says Scooby-Doo says hi. Whitney, Scooby-Doo says hi.
Thank goodness.
I know. My girls
Coming to the rescue.
I know, right? And Sarah and Karen from Sacramento. I probably shouldn't say that it's hot. They're probably warmer than we are. And Valerie and Sherry and Tiffany, good morning. Thanks everyone for joining me. And Sally from Battle Creek, Michigan, thanks for joining us. We're having a good week here in Iowa. We have, if you signed up for summer school, that is kicking off on Saturday. I guess Friday night, I think you guys, Taylor's going to go through your little kit. So you'll get to see me Saturday again. And Taylor, if you signed up for summer school. We're very excited about it here. It's one of my favorite things, the foiling, but I'm sure there's several of you guys that are joining us. So thank you. I hope you've enjoyed our summer release. And it totally feels like I said summer in Iowa this week. It was like 91 here yesterday, which feels a little early to me, but I could be wrong. It just means I've got to water my flowers more often. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it was kind of toasty. Good morning. Good morning from Vacay. Joan says, I love it. I love it. Yeah. And let's see, we got an Odessa, Texas, and a cloudy St. Louis, Linda. We've had the smoky skies here for so many days that I'm just excited actually to see the sun. So maybe that smoke was filtering us and keeping us a little cooler for a few days. I don't know. But anyway, and Father's Day is this weekend. I am sending my cards today. I'm never early about these things. So, and Amarita, thanks for joining me. I hope you guys all enjoyed seeing Taylor on Tuesday. She went over all the new release. Don't forget there's a specific $100 bundle that goes through when our next release starts next Tuesday. But I always say, if you're going to order, get it done by Monday night. But it is also that bundle with the seals, the envelope seals, the envelopes, and the insiders. That $100 freebie bundle, or that bundle that you get with a $100 purchase, I should say, that's a more proper way to say it. That if you want it, it's when it runs out, it runs out. So supplies while supplies last. Otherwise, make sure you get your order in by Monday night. So good morning, Leanne. You must be on vacation if you're in Branson, Missouri. So hope you're enjoying that. Anyway, today I'm going to talk a little bit about two cool things. One is a project that Lori Craig did on our summer school, or our summer release, with the little mason jar that I thought was so cool. And the other thing is something that went up live on our website today, something that I fell in love with when we got a sneak peek sample of it. It's been around for a little bit, but it's new for us. It's the Pear Blossom T-square ruler. It went live on our website this morning. I thought it was cool, and then I used it more and more and figured out what some of the extras are on it, and now I think it's even more cool. So I love it, but you all know I love rulers, and I need them because I like cards that are simple and things need to be straight. So I am going to swap you down so we can get started with those things. There we go. Sorry about that. This is the Pear Blossom Press. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of my card if you guys didn't all see it online. This is the card that I'm going to make. I have a lot of parts and pieces done of it just so that we can have a little more time to talk about our Pear Blossom Press. But Lori Craig did a very cute card on the release, and Taylor showed it to you, but there were some parts and pieces of how she put it together that I thought were so clever, so I wanted to share that with you. But that's the card I'm going to show you. But the first thing I want to talk about is this new little friend. I have wanted Taylor to bring in a T-square ruler forever. I think it's been years, because at home I have one of the T-square rulers that you just get in like I suppose it's like art supplies and stuff. I've had two of them for a long time. I can't even remember what aisle I purchased them in, but I like this because it's shorter. My regular size T-square ruler that you get in the art supply aisle is probably at least 12 inches long, the middle bar here, and I have snapped so many of them off that it's insane. So I love that this is small, and she has little grooves and divots built into this ruler that make it awesome. So a couple of things is it's got the 0 center dots for both horizontal and vertical. And then it gives you some extra third dots for just kind of keeping things in line. So it gives you a visual. I can't say you're always going to have the exact perfect sentiment that's going to fit between these two pink dots that she gave you, but it just helps to just kind of see it and remind you of where your center is if you're putting a sentiment, and I'll get into that. So this is the horizontal orientation, and what I just absolutely love is that if I want to go have a sentiment and I would like it in the middle of my card and I want to make sure it's straight, not only does the T-square ruler, because it's got a little groove on the back side here, so that when you put your paper there, you know this line here is straight. As long as you're cut on the side of your cardstock, which I've got an A2 cardstock size here in front of me, which that would be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So I've got my 5 1/2 direction here. So it's butted up to the groove over here. And if you notice, it's over to the very last dash on this side. So that's our A2. And that, as long as this is all cut square, this line then should be perfectly straight. So then if I wanted to add a sentiment and I wanted it to be perfectly straight, I can take, this is one of our mini strips, and I can set that there and center it. The other thing is I can use my eyes to pick out that on this side, I'm 1 dash or 1/8 on this side of the 1. And on this side, we're more on to the 1/8 on this side of the 1. So then I know this is centered, and I could glue it down if I had glue behind it or foam tape or whatever I was using. This gives me an exact center. And that way, like if I wanted it down on the bottom of my card, wherever I wanted it, I will always be placing this straight. That's the basic of a T-square ruler that I use. I use it all the time. But mine is a big, tall one, and I just like this is much more compact for us stampers, or even if you scrapbook, I can see how this would be handy. But one of my very favorite things about the way they created this one is the lip that I get back here. That probably doesn't seem to seem like it makes a big difference, but the one that I have at home is very shallow, this little groove, and I really want to be able to know that I've caught my paper and keep it in place. So bringing that right up to the side and having it click is very important to me, because sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I want to be able to catch that and not have to worry about having my ruler go over it and miss it, and then I don't actually have the straight line that I thought I did. So that's as soon as Taylor handed this to me, she said, well, what do you think of this one? That was the first thing I loved about it, is that little groove in the back. It's absolutely perfect for card makers. It's a great depth for like 80 or 100 pound cardstock, first off. And again, I like that it's got the centering alignment. Sorry, I get that I'm right-handed and I should use it right-handed, but I keep finding myself going at it left. So then I don't have my numbers correct. So if you're right-handed and you want to use the vertical orientation, it needs to be on your right-hand side here, which makes sense, but I don't know why. Maybe it's because the other way is the left-hand side, but I just have to reacquaint myself. I want to function on the left side for some reason with this both times, but there we go. I just love that. And then the coolest thing is this you see this 1/2 and 3/8 up at the top, and I was like, oh, what is that all about? And she wrote, it's on here that says 3/8 and 1/2 border jigs, and I was like, I could have read the back, right? But I went and watched one of the Pear Blossom Press videos, and I just adore what she did with this. So if you had a 1/2 inch border around your A2, you would use this side. If you had a 3/8 inch border, you would use this side, and you use it upside down. So I went ahead and wrote them out for you just because I felt like it made more sense to me. So normally a card would be 5.5 by 4.25. And if you subtract 3/4 from both of those, you have a 3/8 inch border all the way around. So on the back side, if you flip it over and you put your card base into this corner, it locks into that corner again. Very nice groove, very nice depth that they made to it. And then you placed your cardstock in this part of the ruler, the open part. You'd have a perfect 3/8 inch border all the way around. Isn't that cool? Is it etched lines and numbers? I feel a little etching. I don't know if you're wondering about the screen printing. I've been using it. I haven't actually had issues so far, Lisa. I can't answer that. I feel like I can feel them. I don't know if they're like down in there. They are, I think, printed on the top. But I haven't had any issues with mine. So again, that was the 3/8 inch. You have to use it, even though it's written on this side, you do have to flip it over. So let me show you the other one. The other one is for half. So again, if you had an A2 size panel, and you cut off 1 inch off of these two sides, so then you ended up with 4.5, sorry, and 3.25. And again, you took this, you flip it over to the back side, and you put your base up in this corner. Then this piece, which would be your layer, fits perfectly into this corner. Isn't that awesome? I don't know. I just think that's great, and I think it's so cool, and it's going to be so helpful. And I'm actually going to use it when I put together my lemon card also. So they're on the website. I love them. I'd be curious to know if anyone already has them. And April says, yes, that's the exact problem with my current T-square ruler. I hope you're talking about that whole depth situation. Mine is just from the art supplies, and I've had it for quite a while. I seem to miss the paper, and I don't catch. And sometimes I'll look down and think I had everything, caught on the edge of my T-square ruler, but it's just so shallow. I love the depth of this one. You catch right on your paper. Love that. Okay, well, let's get this out of the way. Maybe I'll leave this here for just a second. So that's what those two mean. I'm going to reiterate this in case anyone comes back to watch this. So this one, let's swap these. This would be this and this. So for this side of the ruler, this is the 1/2, which means I still did it wrong. One more time. I had it right the first time. So on this side of the ruler, if you cut 1 inch off of what your card base is, so then you'd have a 1/2 inch around all 4 sides. This is the side you would use. Again, flipped over. And then on this one, if you had an A2 size and you cut 3/4 of an inch off of your horizontal side and your vertical side, then you would be 3/8 of an inch border all the way around. I hope I'm explaining that well, but there you go. Let's bring this back in. I wish I had grabbed Lori's card because she had just the most adorable card. She also used the checking in background that I used, and I just thought it was so cute. And I loved her jar, how she created it. And I did contact her and I said, can I show your card and show everyone how you put together this mason jar? So on our mason jar set, this one, you have not only your actual mason jar, but you have an inner piece, which helps if you wanted to, you would inlay that. So if you would want more of a frame to create a shaker card with, that's how that would work. That's what that inner piece is for. But I thought it was so clever that Lori used it with some vellum, and I'll show you how that comes together, to make the actual liquid that would be inside your cup. I thought that was just brilliant. And maybe that was part of what it was designed for, but I'm pretty sure our first thought was to design that for a shaker. And then I also love the ruler, how the ruler, I've been talking about the Pear Blossom T-square ruler, I'm sorry, the straw, the way the straw comes together. I want to cover that with you too. So this little thing, it says enjoy on it, is for your jar. It shows up a lot better on vellum. but I want to show it to you today. I went ahead and I did put it on my jar just for, if you're in person, you'll catch it and see it more. But you know how like mason jars have some sort of like etching in the glass? It's not really etching, it's just like molded into the glass. I love using that. So let's get to this. The first thing I want to talk to you about is creating this background. So I know I've showed you guys this before, but I love using our embossing pad kit to emboss with dies, and you can also emboss with stencils. And sometimes it's one of those things that you forget, or you forget how to do it, so I just kind of want to go over it with you one more time. I'm trying to find the front side of my stencil here. And I have some blue raspberry cardstock that is cut to A2 size. And I just liked having all this blue. So I'm using a white card base, but I did use a full size blue raspberry on it. That was just because it was a design choice. I didn't want more white. I really wanted to enjoy that bright pop of blue. So this is our blue raspberry. I'm gonna go ahead and tape it down. I'm not gonna tape it down a ton because I am going to send this through my die cut machine, and I want it to have room to move a little bit. So let's grab this. Thank you, Lisa. She says I explained things well. I appreciate that, because there for a second I felt like I was all those slashes, the 3/4 and 3/8 and all of that, I felt a little or a lot to say, right? And to make sure you're saying I'm right. Okay, so I do like to have, if you've ever seen me with stencils and stuff, I fuss a little bit because I like to have my pattern centered left to right and as much as I can up down. So I can kind of look at this and see that. I know there's a line to this, but also to center left to right, up and down. So I'm going to tape that in place, and I just used some of our teal tape on the back. I'm pressing it on really well because, like I said, I want some movement. I want things to be able to shift when I send this through my machine. But we're going to start with that. I can tape a little bit of this stencil down while I'm ink blending though, just to kind of keep things in place. I'm going to grab my blue raspberry here, and normally I would use a little bit bigger blender brush, but I forgot to grab my blue raspberry, but we have these little ones here, and this will work fine too. I would normally use a little bit bigger one, and I'm only going around this outer edge because we're going to cover up the center anyway, so there's no real reason to ink blend that. You could if you wanted to, or if you weren't sure which direction you were going with your card. Again, I would highly recommend a little bit bigger blender brush. I grabbed my green one. I don't know why I didn't grab the blue one. Just get the edge. I didn't, on my original one, again, I didn't do the whole thing just because I knew I was going to cover it up. But I love this bright pop of color. So again, this is our blue raspberry, and our new Sunny Slices stencil came out on Tuesday. I just love this pattern. I don't even know that my mind would read slices if I didn't have a citrus themed card. So I'm going to peek, as I always do. Make sure I like how dark it is. This morning here, and I had to, don't you love that job of going to get gas, and I stood outside the car because I was just like, it's just such a beautiful day here. I know it's going to heat up, but yeah, we could use a little rain again, but that would be all right. Okay, give it another peek. Oh, this corner looks a little bit light. All right, just want to peek over here and see how things are going. I think that all looks good. So I'm going to take that and cover. Here is where you sort of have a choice on which way you'd rather go about this. You can take your stencil off and clean it. I prefer just to leave it in place, because especially sometimes when it's tone on tone, it's a little hard to get everything back in place and see where you're at. I prefer to leave it in place, but just have a scratch piece of paper handy. So, you know, you get mail or something like that, something where it's a piece of paper you would have thrown out anyway. I think I have, I'm gonna grab my wipey cloth, my cloth again. I have a little bit more blue raspberry left. So I know I've shown you guys this before. My biggest thing is that, one, this is Sizzix. You'll have to look up your machine and see if it's any different. But for my Sizzix, it says right here how to emboss with a regular embossing folder. I'm not talking about a 3D. The sandwich that you need for this process is the same one you would use for a regular embossing folder. Your basic, I always want to call them two-dimensional, not the 3D ones, the regular ones we started with for years. You'll go down to this main base, the standard platform. Then, so you take this thin die adapter is off. Get that out of the way. You don't need that. And then this is where you want to grab our TE embossing pad kit. These are very well loved around here, and we need one of those. I feel like 2 works in our machine. We could do the thick one and the thin one together. I always put the thin one on the bottom. Sometimes I feel like it just over squishes it. So it really kind of depends on your machine. We have an older machine here in the studio that Sue and I use on a daily basis, and I feel like the tension is going down on that one. That one I would want the thick and then the thin on the bottom and use both. But this machine is a little newer and has a really good amount of tension to it. The other thing is, if you do have this taped and you feel like you need a little more pressure, as long as this is taped in place, you should be able to run it through twice if you need to. So the other thing I like to do is, now that I have this taped in place, is I'll take just a baby wipe that's clean-ish and just wipe the back just a little bit. Did you see how it just gave just a little bit of moisture on the back of there? So again, the paper is down on top of our thicker, I call it squishy mat, but it's our TE embossing pad. And then we have both of our cutting plates. And then you run that through. And we'll peek. That kind of went through pretty easy, so I might grab the one. Let me just peek. I'll try it. So we'll put the thinner one on the bottom. So then we still have our thick, and then our cardstock and our stencil, and it's still taped together. If it came apart, you'd want to realign it, and also just make extra sure that you really need it, because sometimes it's harder to line it back up. Run that through. Again, if it feels too tight, like I had to work a little bit harder at that, but if it feels too tight, never force it through your machine, ever. I actually did pop a machine one time, so can you see all that texture that gave on the back of there? Isn't that fun? So that is our background for that one. And you can see how I didn't ink blend in the middle, and then I just put a little bit of blue raspberry on the outside. So I'm gonna clean that. I'm not gonna take my machine away because I found something in our stash here. We store our stencils in a sleeve, and someone ink blended this. Isn't this pretty here in the office? Let's run it through. I'm so curious to run this through. So I've got to clean this first though. This one will be a lot easier to line up again just because of those bright colors, and it's on white. This one being the reason why I left it together was so that I didn't have to worry about realigning it. And now that I've talked you through all of that, I don't think I put my I know I didn't put my scratch paper on top of my stencil. That's what I would normally do. So I'm gonna take and just wipe off my cutting plates so I don't transfer anything to a different project. So either wipe off your cutting plates or use the scratch paper that was laying right here. Let's go back. I want to just run this through because I think it's such a cool technique. Again, I had to find the etching of my stencil, and we'll line this up, which I need my glasses for. I'm gonna get a little tape so we're ready for that. Isn't this pretty? I think it looks like potato chip, candy corn, and maybe watermelon would be my guess that they used. It's so pretty. I'm sure we were just testing or something. And then if we have something that turned out and it's still pretty, we'll throw it in the sleeve just to save it. So I'm gonna take that, tape it around to the back, line this up, take that around to the back again, so I've got it all taped in place. I will take that baby wipe again, like that, just over the back. Again, I have my main standard base plate. I have the thin squishy mat on the bottom and then the thick. A lot of times I only need the thick. Then I have my cardstock and the stencil. With our stencils, they are 6 inches wide. Just make extra sure you're on your platform. I have bent stencils before because they are just as wide as the platform, and every once in a while they adjust. So if you had ink on the stencil, just cover it with a scratched piece of paper. That's what I would recommend you do. This one is obviously clean. I just cleaned it. We'll run this through. I think this is going to be really pretty. This is me, what here in the office we say squirrel when you get sidetracked. But when I came in today and I saw this in our folder, I was like, this needs to be dry. I would call this dry embossing. So look at that. Can you see that texture? I know you can see it a lot better on the back, and it needs to dry a little bit. Being as I wet it, it will curl. So you can see it's already starting to curl. But I did these this morning and they're already flattening out. So when I got in this morning, like an hour ago, so don't be alarmed. If it's curling up, that just means it isn't quite dry yet. So, but isn't that pretty? I wish you could see it because it's so much better in person. So now we have those slices all raised. I just love it. And we'll put it back in the folder again to store it, but that way I could walk you through twice how to use your stencils, and you can use your dies in a similar way. So let's go back to this, and then we have our base, which mine is curling up, but I guarantee you by the time we get all done, it'll be flattened out for us. So let's set that aside. So the next thing was I grabbed something called, it's an older product that we've had for a while, called Piece Within, and it is a die set that I think it's Layer It Piece Within if I'm being proper. It has these 4 dies in it, and this is the scallop die. And then I really liked having this little hashy marks that are in there. So I already cut one of these out of our sugar cube cardstock for you. So we'll go grab those and we'll run that through our machine. I'm gonna debate if there's anything else we have to die cut. I tried to die cut a lot of things ahead of time, kind of like on a cooking show when they pull out the already done cake. So we'll run that through. Normally I don't use teal tape, which I should not. I don't use teal tape for die cutting usually because I don't know, when it gets pressed in there, sometimes it'll tear my cardstock. Teal tape is great for other things like stenciling and that kind of stuff, but I do like to use Scotch removable when it comes to my machines. Just that little bit of extra pressure. So I gotta put my sandwich back together, which is I need my thin adapter, my cutting plate. We'll run this through. That'll put a little bit of extra etching on that sugar cube die cut for me. Then another thing I want to do while I'm here and I have my machine out is I'm going to grab this. I took our TE acetate. This is some of our TE clear window sheets, and I cut the mason jar, the main piece of it, out of there, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that Enjoy on the jar. It's very hard to see for you guys right now on camera. I even had trouble trying to pick it up when I was photographing, but it will be really cool for the in-person or the person that actually receives it and gets to look at it. It's pretty cool. So run that through. One more thing that we'll do while I have this out. So can you see that? Let me grab. Does white help? Maybe blue is a little bit better. Let me grab some. Is that better? Can you see that? That's just kind of hard to see. But it says enjoy, and I think it's so cute that it etches in there. It doesn't actually cut anything out. It just etches it into your jar. One more thing that we'll do while I have my machine handy is I want to show you how the straw from this die cut, or these dies, go together. So you have this bigger striped piece that gives you your color of your straw. And then you have a skinnier piece that looks like the straw. We did a die set very similar to this when we did candy canes a while back, and it works really well. So you're gonna wonder why this piece, which would be your white, because I'm doing blue raspberry and sugar cube, you might wonder why this is smaller, but it's just so that you can cut within that, and then it'll be perfect every time. So we'll take our liquid glue. I think that's best for this. I'm gonna try not to overdo it with the liquid glue because I don't want any of it squishing out while it's going through my die cut machine or getting on my dies. So we'll grab that, pick this up. I'm gonna put it I picked just a scratch piece of sugar cube so it gets laid on there. We'll let that dry for a second. Then let's grab our straw. This is what the straw size will actually be. And then that cuts within it. So you make extra sure that you're getting your dashes all the way to the edge of your straw so it looks like one of those straws with the stripes on it. And yes, I will be spilling tea today. I did see your comment. We'll grab some of our tape, tape that down, get these out of the way, put this back in, and run this through. And you'll have the perfect straw without having to adhere all the little individual stripes. Can you imagine having to glue those all on there? This is a much easier way to go about it. So, oh gosh. Did you guys see what I just did? Did you catch that before I did it? I've never done that before. I didn't put any down the middle, so guess what happened? They all fell off. Make sure you glue down the center. I hit all the edges well, and I didn't hit the center. Make sure you hit the center. I knew it as soon as I pulled the paper off that I had done a bad thing. As soon as I looked into my die, I could see. I was like, oh, I glued all the way down the edge. Let's do it again. So do you see how my stripes? Here, where's my straw? I moved it out of the way really fast. I lost it already. Let's try that again. Make sure you glue down the center. I made a couple of these straws and I didn't do that. Today, of course, it's while you're live. Isn't that the way it goes? Let's try that again. Luckily, it was so easy to glue. Oh, here it is. Here's my straw. Only one of them did I actually catch the center. That's hilarious. Well, at least you will know what not to do, right? Here we go. Much better and much easier to adhere all those little stripes. There we go. There's my stripes. Make sure you put your glue down the center. Don't do what I just did. So now, like this one, that's what's left over, but it makes it so that your straw is perfectly, you've got all those little stripes just perfect. But again, make sure you do as I say and not as I just did, where I did not glue it down the center. I have all these pieces now. Look, they're really cute. I could use them for something, I'm sure. There we go. There's my card back. So back to my little jar here. We're gonna give ourselves, I did a lot of die cutting ahead of time just to make sure we could get through the whole process. So I need one more of my jar piece. I don't think I cut out a second one of these. So the way she has it put together, she did vellum on the back so that you have that white kind of tone to it. And then the inside piece, again, is out of vellum. So we'll cut 2 pieces of vellum here. I'm gonna die cut that really quick. That gives us our back, and I already cut my handle, so we don't have to cut the handle. There we go. I thought I had already cut that, but I'll probably find it as soon as the live is over. It's usually the way it goes. So this piece, that would be your inside piece to a shaker or something. I thought it was so clever that Lori went and took some of her Olos and she colored this in all with Olos. Being they're alcohol, they will dry on here. The one thing about alcohol and vellum is that you have to move quickly and try not to go over what you've done already, because then you just start, being it's a non-porous surface, you end up kind of moving that color around. So I'm just going to go over, try not to go over too much. It creates extra little streaks if you do. I'm going to grab a piercing tool. I think that would be best. I just need something to kind of hold this because I got my finger up here on the. So this Olo is the Y2.2. Anything in the Y's should be good if you have one like that, because actually I'm going to show you what this color looks like on some white cardstock. It's much brighter. Do you see that? It's just vellum lightens everything. So that's a little bit darker. I do test before I pick my colors most of the time. I will take a scratch piece of vellum and run my marker over that, because it just doesn't show up the same on vellum as it does on cardstock. The vellum just ends up showing up lighter, I would say, for the most part. And we're going to let that dry a little bit. So this is our jar. This will be our backing piece. And with this being clear, you have to be very careful about hiding all of your glue. So I'm going to talk you through that too. You just have to be super careful about where you're going. I'm going to lay this here. Maybe that'll make it easier for you guys to see. Is that better? Maybe? There's all that glare from the glass board, and then this is also see-through. So let's grab all of our pieces that I have pre-cut for us. And the first thing I'm going to do is the vellum. The one thing to remember is whatever side you colored on your vellum with your marker, put a little bit of glue, but put it on the other side, because you don't want this vellum, if you put glue on it, you're totally going to see where the glue was, 100%. If you added a dot of glue on the side that you put your marker on, it's going to make that alcohol marker move, and then you're totally going to see where it's at. So what I like to do with this whole process, you're going to probably think this is crazy, but it works for me, is I took glue. I think this would work for most of your liquid glues. I happen to use Barely Arts glue. And I'm going to just take it and use my finger. I know if you have something else and you don't like using your finger, use whatever applicator you want. And I'm just going to run it all over the back. Again, not the side, not on the side that you already put your alcohol marker, the other side. And I just smeared it all over, very thin line. It makes it so that you can't fully see it. I feel like it tricks the eye to not see the one dot where it is. So again, on the other side from where your alcohol marker was, just take it and you'll just rub. I took my finger. You could use a spatula or something else, whatever. If you don't like getting glue on your hand, I just put the whole and covered the whole back. But again, make extra sure it's not the side with the alcohol marker. And then we have our jar, and to put that jar down, a lot of my glue is just going to go behind where this twine is. That helps just kind of hide it, gives us a spot to put it. And then later on, when we go to glue everything down, all these places that the straw is and the citrus wedges are, we can put glue behind all of that. So I'm going to build most all of my jar before I put the top on. And then I will add all of these before I put that glass piece on top, assemble all of this before I glue it down to my card base. Or for this one, the actual sugar cube. So again, this is similar with my little ice cubes. I cut them all out of acetate. Can you see them all? Does that make it easier? Again, I'm going to take those and I will do glue. And I can clean this up off of my glass board very easily. I don't use my microfiber cloth. I'll use a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a baby wipe because I don't obviously want all of this on my microfiber cloth. Just that little bit will kind of be messy. So I'm going to add a straw. I'm going to add an orange wedge here. I'll come back and add my lemon here in a second. But again, you can either, this is something that I did too, is I spread it out and I put my ice cube right down into that glob of glue, picked it up. Again, now I have glue on the whole back side. It's going to be less noticeable. That one got a little thick, but I think it'll be fine. I just took my finger and rubbed glue all over the back of that. Maybe a little messy, but it really does help so you don't have one dot that you're seeing. I suppose if you had a Xyron machine or something, this would be great for that too. Take it and put it through your Xyron so you get adhesive all over the back of it. Do you guys know what those are? There's a few of you all that still use those. I had them, we used them a lot back in the day. I'm running out of glue. Did I lose? I should have 5 ice cubes. I cut out 5 for us. I thought that seemed like a good number. So I had 1 more there. And if I end up feeling like, oh, I can see that, or the glue didn't do as well as I thought, I can cover it up with a wedge, a lemon wedge, or I can cover it up with the straw, whatever I want. So I don't know. It's not perfect. Someone said, thanks for the tip. It's not perfect, but for something like this where you have a lot going on, it actually does work. And those stinking ice cubes are so cute that I really want to be able to see them and have them in there, but I need some way to make sure that they're glued. I can't have them loose. I can't glue around the edge of my jar there. I mean, I'm gonna pull this up close. I did the same thing with these, and when they dry, they just look like ice cubes in there. I might see a little dot of glue right there, but I have to look really hard for it. I don't think anyone's gonna notice because the edge of my jar is clear. So that's also what's serving the purpose of all these things at the bottom. The zest and the little wedges are also holding my jar together. So there's that. Next thing we need to make sure we add is our straw. And I think I want my other wedge maybe behind my straw. I just think the straw is so cute. So I'm gonna end up doing this maybe a little different than my original. I'll go like that. That's kind of fun. Either way, this one I have it tucked behind the orange. Whichever way, I'm gonna go ahead and put my straw down. I have a little piece of paper. I'm gonna cut that off. Bugging me. Put a little glue behind here. I'm not one to enjoy getting glue on my fingers. It's taken me years to find liquid glue that I liked, and I absolutely love this Barely Arts glue. But I do love this one. I don't love having it on my fingers, but hey, it's kind of nice to have something that I can do to use behind see-through things. April, does that mean you know what a Xyron is? Yep. In the past, I've used Xyron machines sometimes I'm impatient and I'm like, oh, I have to pull that thing out. With this, I don't have to. I just have to get a little glue on my hands, which is fine. So let's add my lemon wedge up in here. Again, these magnets come in handy to hold this in place because I've got those ice cubes that are on acetate that don't really want to stay put. It gives them a second to dry. So another thing is I'm gonna add these little leaves. I've already die cut them. They come in this same die set. Make sure I get my straw back in place. Still laughing that the straw fell apart on me the first time. Make sure you glue down the center. I have already cut our acetate handle that we will add probably last before everything goes down. But I did cut 3 leaves. These are all out of lime zest. And I just want to add just a little texture to these leaves so they don't quite look so flat. I did remember that blending brush. So we're going to add just a little bit of lime zest to these lime zest die cuts just to give them a little dimension and zhuzh. The other colors are for the orange wedges is candy corn and sweet potato. And then the lime is, or the lemon is potato chip and lemon meringue. It's hard to say lemon when I have a green ink pad in front of me. So the lemon, again, is potato chip and lemon meringue, but there's tons of yellows that we have that I think are really pretty together for the lemon. And then the orange is candy corn and sweet potato. So that gives us that. Let me wipe that up a little bit. Get my microfiber cloth. Again, if you go to wipe up this glue, you can wipe it up with your baby wipe, and then a little rubbing alcohol will also help. Just don't get glue on your microfiber cloth. That's no good. So we've got that. I did opposite, if you notice, with my wedges here of citrus. I did the reverse. Like one has a lighter color on the bottom. I just thought it was fun and added a little more interest. I know a lot of times rinds, if we're being really technical, are usually lighter in color, but I thought we were going for this. I was just going with what looked cute. So let me get this jar handle just so I don't forget it. Tucked on the back of here. So we'll add just a dot of glue. This one I'm not going to be so particular about because it's going to get tucked in also behind where that Olo marker is. So it won't be as obvious. So I'm just going to take it and kind of smear it around just to get it thinned out a little bit. That way I don't have it in one spot. And that will go in here behind our jar. This also is another reason why I love our glass board, is because if there is a little bit of glue that oozes out, it's just on my glass board. It's not on paper. I don't have to try to peel it off of anything. It'll come right off my glass board. So, and then I have some of our twine. We sell some Maillard's twine on the TE website, but whatever twine or ribbon or whatever you have, this makes it really easy for us to hide the actual jar. So I'm going to take a little bit of my Barely Arts glue again. I'm going to put it just up at the top where my twine is going to land around the top. It was funny because when I asked Lori about her jar, she said it's really only glued up there by the top of the mason jar, and I'm like, yep, I did notice that, and it's brilliant. So I loved that thought process. We'll let that hold down for a sec. Is there any other pieces we can take care of? Oh, this. So I took the bottom edge of this die that's in the piece within, and I stamped some white sugar cube cardstock with potato chip ink and our checking in background. And I did this ahead of time because I knew I would run over today, so I did it ahead of time. I just took a little piece of sugar cube with our checking in background and a little bit of potato chip ink, and I stamped that. And then I took the die and lined it up across the bottom, just on an edge of it. I mean, you could cut the whole thing and then chop off what you want, but I just took my cardstock up to the edge like this, made sure it was straight, and then die cut it. That way I had this cute checking in, like I thought it looked like a tablecloth is what I was going for, giving some grounding to my jar. So let's add a little bit of glue to the back of here. And that way I have something to kind of ground my whole image here. So we'll move this to there. And then let's take and we will wrap this twine around the top of here, and we'll tie it off to the side over here. I do love to use my reverse tweezers to help me out with this because it's kind of hard to hold it and try to keep it tight all at the same time. Reverse tweezers for the win when it comes to this. So I just have them grab where my knot is, except for it wants to stick to my magnet. And then I'll do a double knot just to kind of keep it in place. This is where I do sometimes cheat with my knots and my bows. I will tie a separate bow and glue it on the top, but let's see how this turns out. If it doesn't go well, that's when I cut off my ends and I tie a separate twine bow and then I just glue it on. But let's see, maybe it'll cooperate with me today. I messed up the straw, so the bow's gonna cooperate, right? There we go. I do like it. It turned out okay. But I did double knot it. I felt like I have to fight a little bit less with getting my bow done. So let's chop that. There we go. Let me bring this back in so you can see it. So it's really just loose on the bottom. But as soon as we add a citrus wedge down here in the bottom, we can cover everything up. And we add a little bit more glue over there. And sometimes as I go along, I add a little bit more glue and a little bit more glue where I can. So let's grab this, put this here again. Here's my, I can glue from the back now. I have all these spots that no one's gonna see what I did on the back. And my vellum is not gonna give away where my glue is, right? All those spots now that I have. That. And here, this is where I love things like this ruler, is I can pick my center. So I've got this die cut, I know it's cut well, but I can figure out where my center of even this is, even though it's not A2. So I can take my ruler and I'll match up that this side is 1.5. Let's go to the edge here. So 1, and that would be 5/8. 1 and 5/8. So can you tell that I'm out to 1 and 5/8 here and 1 and 5/8 over here? My bump of my scallop is what I'm talking about. And then I can tell that that straw in my jar is right down the center. Can you see that? Let me see if I can hold it up, and that's easier for you to see. So I can see that the dot, or the, so can you see the pink dot here and the pink dot here? That's the edge of my jar. My jar is perfectly centered. If it wasn't, I use some liquid glue and I can move that just a little bit, but it's centered, so I'm good to go. So we'll let that glue. Let's add a little bit of glue to the back of my lemon and my orange wedge. I know this is an interesting drink with lemon and orange in it, but I thought it looked really cute. It's some sort of interesting lemonade in my mind. So I can add that. I fussed with these little wedges down here forever. Isn't that funny how we can do that? But now that I've got one round of it done, I should be able to just copy. So that's gonna go there. And while that is still wet and not moving, I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue and put some glue behind my lemon there, and put my magnet on top, and it'll hold that corner at least of my jar together. So let's grab a little bit of foam tape, at least for the sentiment. There's a lot of dimension going on this card just because the cardstock's kind of layered up and stuff. Oh, I love this. Lisa says she loves the magnetic glass board because the colors make crafting exciting. I am with you 100%. It's funny because this last week I made a template of Taylor's glass board because I've said this forever. I haven't bought mine yet. Every time I think I'm going to do it, I just don't get it done or I forget about it. And I've been on this purging of my craft room and reorganizing. So I brought home a template of it because I have a stand-up desk, and I find lately I've been using it more. I have a what do you want to call it? A bad hip, let's just put it that way. That it doesn't like to do a ton of sitting. I do better if I can do a little sitting, a little standing, a little bit of everything, right? So I brought it home, and I cannot tell you how happy I was that this is going to fit on my stand-up desk. It is a hair too tall. Like, it might be maybe 1/8 of an inch too long this way for my stand-up desk. I have more real estate this way on my stand-up desk, but this, it's going to fit. I am so excited. And my birthday's in July, so I'm just gonna buy it for my birthday. I've already decided. It's also motivation that I want to finish this craft room purge. I'm really close. I'm sure those of you who watch every week know that I have been doing this for a while, and it's insane probably that I'm still working on it. But I only get like maybe 4 or 5 hours a week to get up there and purge. And sometimes I need to go up there and actually do a project. So anyway, enough of that, right? I'm so excited. So for all of you who already have one, I get to join the club. I'm so excited because I love using it when I'm here. So just double checking that I'm going to get my sentiment where I want. I want it a little bit hanging off the side, a little bit on that jar. If you noticed, I used some foam tape while I was chattering there. So You're the Zest. I already took that You're the Zest with my VersaFine Nocturne black ink and our clear TE embossing powder, and I embossed that and die cut it from the set. This is one of the new sets again called Let's Chill that came out on Tuesday. But that also holds down then that corner of the jar. And then up here, I just think it's fun to have a little lemon wedge stuck on the top. You can choose to give it a slice down the center if you actually want it hung off. Or for me, mine will just tuck in between the two pieces, and a little bit and a little leaf I thought would be cute up in there too. So we'll add a little glue to the back of the leaf and a little glue to the back of our lemon. And let me grab these other two leaves while I've got the pin out of my glue. Add those. Add those all in place quick here. Put that up in there. And another leaf. I might see if I want that little leaf to go more up by my lemon this time. So let's add my two leaves down here under the zest. Just to kind of bring that green in down on the bottom. I just thought I loved the green, added another little pop of color, but I also liked that it brought your eye, that you saw the green in 3 different places on my card. So I've got the orange, the yellow, and the green, and then the blue is just kind of that final pop of color. I might tuck this in up here. I think I kind of like that. Gonna move it again. I'm allowed to change my mind, right? There we go. I think I like it underneath there. So there we go. That's all my parts and pieces. And then we're gonna take that and we'll add it to this piece of blue raspberry, which is basically almost dry now, but being as it is still a little warped, I'm gonna use liquid glue and put that on my card base, just so that that will help kind of flatten it out a little bit. I think if I had a little bit more time, it would fully dry. But isn't it crazy, just that little bit of baby wipe still needs a few minutes to dry. I swear, once they're fully dry, they become pretty close to flat. But all this texture is really great to use liquid glue with. Or foam tape, if you wanted to use foam tape. I always just try to be a little bit careful that I know what's going on as far as dimension on my final card, just so that it isn't too thick for mailing. So there we go. And like I said, you can tell that I don't have the center done, but I just didn't need that part. So then we have this, which I am gonna put a little foam tape behind that. Jamie, that's what I did too. She said she had the small one because she was trying to determine if the large one was gonna fit. I had the small one, and every time I was at work, I thought, I really want a big one like this. And then when this came out, is it funny that such a little tool like this with a magnet on the back could make me go, no, now I really want the big glass board. Because I can put that on my small glass board, but I feel like it takes up most of my glass board. So I really wanted the big one. I almost squealed, I think, last weekend when I realized it's gonna fit. So it's all my might just not to go run downstairs and buy it this week, but I can wait. I really need motivation to help me finish my room. I'm so close. But do you ever do that where you're cleaning one room and then you just squirrel and all of a sudden you're in another room? Yeah, I was doing that last weekend too. So, okay, let's try this out because I measured this just to see. It comes down to this one. Do you remember how I showed you this? That if you take an inch off of this side of your cardstock and an inch off of this, you get a 1/2 inch border all the way around. I measured this and this is perfect sizing for this. So I can use it with my Pear Blossom press. So I'll take again, that blue raspberry gets stuck up in the corner that's grooved into your ruler, okay? And then I'm doing like I usually do. I only have peeled off one piece. Oh, Jamie, I love that I'm not the only one. She's saying that this little buddy helped push her to want the bigger one too. Me too. And again, I'm going to take this, tuck it in this corner, line it up with the opening this time. And that way I know this is centered. So I will have a 1/2 inch all the way around my panel for my card. So now I do have to reach in and peel off these that I didn't have exposed yet. There we go. There's my card. Are you guys ready for some tea? This is the last part. So I know many of you know you can sign up for Stamp Joy in person next week. So make sure you join Taylor on Tuesday at 9 a.m. But I do have tea to spill in the meantime before you guys can do that. And then next week, Thursday at 10 a.m. is Heather. So you'll see her. I am on vacation next week, so I am excited. You'll see Heather. Thanks for joining me. Are you ready for some tea? All right, I'm sure you are. And I have created a massive big mess, as per usual, right? By the time we're done, I always have a huge mess. Are we ready? Here we go. Okay, so join Taylor Tuesday at 10 a.m. And don't forget to join us Friday night if you're part of summer school and the foiling. We will be excited to see you all. Otherwise, join Taylor Tuesday at 10 a.m. to learn more about that tea I just spilled. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.